All right, so what is up, guys? Welcome back to episode 61 of Late Night Shots podcast. Today, we're going to kind of bring you guys a special episode. There's not much going on. We have like some of the D3, D2, NAIA, NWCA, and Women's Championships. If you want us to try to cover some of those, I'll be honest, I haven't watched much of that stuff. It's just too hard to find at this point. They don't make much accessible to us. PA States happened. Shout out to Nate Sean for winning the title, two-timer heavyweight now. Yeah, got that out of the way. We got a special episode for you guys. We're gonna be going over the top 10 heavyweights of the decade from 2010 to 2019. I think so. Unfortunately enough, no Gable Stevenson on this list. You're all gonna hate me for it, but placed third that year. He's most likely gonna be the top of this decade if the podcast is still going. So he'll be on there. Don't worry about it. No. You want to do a countdown, or how do you want to do this? I think we'll do a countdown, right?
Oh, yeah, sure. You want to start
I'll
in
start
2010?
off. Number 10, Gerard Trice from Central Michigan. He's gonna hate me if he sees this for me putting him all the way at 10, but this is NCAA wrestlers, so not what they did after, or not all that stuff. So he's at 10 on my list, right? Yeah, solid wrestler, great upper body thrower. Had a fantastic career after he was done with college. A similar career to a guy like Mike Mcmullen, Don Bradley, Adam Kuhn, guys who just had bad draws, maybe just didn't get it done when they were supposed to in college, but had fantastic careers after. If you're putting NCAA wrestlers, maybe Tervel Dlagnev is not going to be on here just because he was a D2 wrestler, but if you want to talk about him a bit, again, fantastic wrestler. Guy came out from D2 rankings, University of Nebraska Kearney, I think it is, UNK. Two-time Olympian, one match away from winning a medal, fell to Gino Petrashvili. Again, who's pretty much number one consensus number one in the world at 125 right now. So, if you want to do an episode on him, that would be cool. I might try to reach out to him if I can find some contact information later, but back to Gerard Trice again. Very talented folk style wrestler, mainly upper body guy. Did pretty good in Greco. This is, again, way before I started wrestling, so I haven't seen much of the dude. I know he follows me on Instagram. I've talked to him every so often. Again, great. So that being said, let's move on to number 9. This is probably the most recent guy on this list. Anthony Champ Kassar. You can get us started on this one.
This is not going to sit well with a lot of people, but I feel like it just needs to be said. He pulled off probably one of the bigger upsets we've seen in recent memory, just in the sense of beating Gable Stevenson twice. He's still the only person to ever beat Gable Stevenson. And while they were closely contested matches, upset's an upset, right?
Yeah.
I've
said this before and again, but there's two ways to look at this. You can look at it as a freshman versus senior matchup, or you can look at it against stuff in the eyes of a first-year starter versus one of the highest touted recruits of all time.
Yeah.
There's two ways to look at that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, national champion, nothing you can say or do will change that.
Yeah, this is less a spot earned on pure credentials, because, he was only a one-time national champion. He only got 1 year starting time with Penn State, but it's more the story's friggin' incredible. I mean, dude was a 197, beat the number one dude in the country, and then didn't even get the nod for the postseason. And then he comes back next year and wins heavyweight whenever everyone thought heavyweight was just given to Gable Stevenson. So,
yeah. I'll be honest. As a New Jersey guy, I was rooting for Kassar, but after he lost to Derek White in the Southern Scuffle that year, doubt started creeping. I had Kassar losing like 7-2 in that finals. I'll be honest.
Right.
After seeing how weak Kassar was at defending upper body, how good Gable was with the underhooks, it just all seemed to be in favor of Gable Stevenson. But you've seen before, Kassar was the one guy who can match his foot speeds, made it happen. To this day, I'm still in shock of how that match actually went down. Looking at how Gable has transformed himself into a 10 times better wrestler than he was then,
Yes.
At the end of the day, Yes, Gabe would beat Kassar now. We've went over so many times. It doesn't matter who would win now. All that matters is the one when it mattered. So that's what that is. Number 8. You maybe not like me putting him over Anthony Kassar, but again, I'll be honest. We've said it before. We said again. I'll root for Kassar any day of the week, but that was probably the weakest heavyweight weight class I think I've ever seen. No shade on the guys, but like it was just not as strong of a weight class as we've seen before. Snyder
Yes.
and Kuhn gone, Desi gone, Casper gone, Neville's
Yeah.
out. That's what that is. I mean, I think no, actually, Desi was back in 2019, but he just didn't have the greatest of years. It was something different for him. Still pulled out with the fifth place finish, but yeah. So number 8, I have Connor Medbury from Wisconsin. Big Ten finalist, national finalist, falling to only Kyle Snyder twice. I don't think he has too great of accomplishments out here, but when your only losses are to Kyle Snyder, and overall skill-wise, he was up there. He placed 4th, I think it was, the year before. I would think he has credentials. Those are the more stacked heavyweight classes. If we look at, again, who would be in the talk for top 10 of this decade, a guy like Tony Cassiope is probably in that talk for the sole fact that this weight class is so deep.
Yeah.
After Gable Stevenson and Mason Parrish are gone, you have to assume Greg Kerfler is getting on the list. Those may be 3, like what would be considered before generational talents. Now it's just becoming the norm here.
Yeah.
You look through the high school ranks, what guys are coming up. Hayden Kopass, Chase Horn, Keontae Hamilton, Jimmy Mullen,
Yes.
Keontae Hamilton's committed to Rutgers. Hayden Kopass committed to Wisconsin. Chase Horn's committed to NC State. And, this is a really bold call, but if this does happen, if Jimmy Mullen commits to Minnesota, he may just be the successor to Gable Stevenson at the heavyweight ranks, from what I've seen from him so far. And I'm going to say that I'm going to just leave that there for you guys. But again, Connor Medbury, he took down Kyle Snyder. Not something many people could say,
Yeah.
And that's where this debate always comes in, Gable Stevenson versus Kyle Snyder. Gable has given up 0 takedowns this year in a harder weight class, I would say, than Snyder, except for Adam Kuhn. Give 2 takedowns to Nick Neville's, give up 1 to Adam Kuhn, even if we don't count that. Adam Kuhn's a potential Olympian. It's all going to depend on how well Colton Schultz has gotten stronger, because that's really the only reason he lost that match. He wasn't as strong as Adam Kuhn. His technique looked to be better, all that.
I can't believe Kuhn made him look just so small. Like Colton's just a gigantic human being.
The crazy part was when you saw Kuhn versus, I think, Sergey Semenov, it was in the World Finals. Kuhn got forward twice, and it was like, wow. Because, that's the guy you again normally don't look at, because I think Rizak Kalp kind of bullied him too. Semenov in the finals of the Mateo Pelicon.
Right.
Kuhn, I think, and Schultz did wrestle in the first round of that. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Kuhn won. I'm probably sure. Yeah. And it kind of sucks, though, for Greco that Lopez really doesn't even make appearances unless he has to.
Yeah.
I don't really
smart,
agree.
but like,
yeah, like they get paid to throw matches, all that, These are good things we can look over, like when their careers are all said and done. Lopez is probably done after the Olympics this year. Hopefully he gets a 4th title, cements his potential GOAT status, all depending on what happens after. First ever male wrestler to win 4 Olympic gold medals. Again, going back to Connor Medbury, kind of straight off topic about that. National finalist, 3-time All-American, I think it is, or 2-time, but I think he can cement himself as a number 8. I don't think anybody's going to have too much of a disagreement about that.
Yeah.
I'd say him and Connor Medbury, Anthony Kassar, and Gerard Trice are all flippable, if I were to say that. But that being said, number 7, Don Bradley. Don Bradley did have wins over Tony Nelson, Zach Ray, and he still does. But again, when he beat Tony Nelson, Nelson was a freshman, and Don Bradley was out of the weight class that year.
Yeah.
And, this is a guy who's a consensus number 3 or number 4 in the country right now. A guy who's provided the longevity after graduating, 2012, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, like he's done very well for himself after that. But as an NCAA wrestler, I would move him up to number 3 on this list if we're going all time. Obviously going all time, Kyle Snyder's not on this list.
Yeah.
To be essentially Nick Wasdowski than him.
Right.
There's a guy like Mason Paris and Gable Stevens can't be on this list. But again, at number 7, obviously could move him around a little bit if you really wanted to. But again, that's solid rank again. Huge blast double. Beaten Zach Ray, beaten Nick Wasdowski, beaten Anthony Cassar, beaten Tony Nelson. Beat pretty much every national champ there is except for Kyle Snyder for the sole fact that he hasn't wrestled him. And he has wins over Gable Stevenson too. Very talented guy. If any dark horse wins it at heavyweight, Don Bradley is going to be it.
Yeah.
That being said, number 6. This is a good segment into an interesting topic I like to talk about. But, Zach Ray won, I think, in 2011. Tony Nelson beat him in 2012. Nelson lost to Wasdowski in 2014. Gwiz lost to Snyder in 2016. That's where he kind of had this chain of guys winning and losing as seniors. And a good thing that somebody pointed out to me was when Ray won, it was a close match. You start to see the deformities of their body types changing. Ray was like a shorter, probably around 6 feet, big, bulky, meathead type of guy. Nelson was leaner, just 6'5", a gigantic monster right there. Wasdowski was a bit smaller, a bit quicker on his feet and scramble. Snyder was getting smaller, probably just as fast, but just as strong. Snyder's kind of a weird take to this because I don't think he wasn't too much faster than Wasdowski looking at their matches, but he beat him in positions and he kind of gassed him out. That's essentially what happened.
Yep.
But yeah, Zach Ray, again, he was a staple at the heavyweight weight class when he existed, placed at 3rd, I think, as a sophomore, won it as a junior. And he lost in the finals to Tony Nelson, kind of started this chain at heavyweight.
Yeah.
Number 5. Some people might get mad about this. He's number 5, not number 4, but from Northwestern, Mike Mcmullen. One of the best wrestlers to never win a national title, regardless of weight class. I could put Don Bradley over him just based on the success he's had after college, but McMullen did beat Bradley to get to the national finals. Where he lost to Nelson, so it is what it is.
Right.
But McMullen placed 3rd, I think, as a freshman. 2nd as a sophomore, lost to Tony Nelson in the finals. 3rd as a junior. And we all know the scramble with Adam Kuhn in the NCAA semifinals in 2015. Probably one of the greatest scrambles ever. You think about big scrambles. What two really come to mind? Jesse Delgado and Deshaun Garrett, and the one from this match. 2 polar opposites, just in general, 125 and heavyweight. Let's be honest, which one's more fun to watch? 2 big ass people. It's like brawling with each other in that position, or like, it just really depends. They're both good in their own ways.
Delgado's fast.
He is, but you have to consider watching a heavyweight match. You gotta take the balls it takes. I remember you told us the balls it takes to shoot under a guy like Adam Kuhn.
Yeah.
Like Kyle Snyder couldn't do it effectively 100%. Kyle Snyder gets stuffed on most of his shots against Adam Kuhn.
You couldn't pay me to get under Adam Kuhn.
Can't pay anybody under Adam Kuhn, I think, at this point. You saw Gable Stevenson, the first guy I've ever seen really handle Adam Kuhn with leg attacks. Nick Wasdowski is a guy who will go under you no matter what, and he just hits that head wheel just because he's a little too slick for Kuhn. That's really it. Yeah, Mcmullen, Big Ten champion. How many guys Big Ten champion in a weight class where Tony Nelson won the national title that year, and Adam Kuhn was in that weight class also, and Bobby Telford was also. That was a stacked weight class. Kyle Snyder was at 197 that year, obviously, but again, one of the greatest wrestlers to never win a national title.
Right.
Number 4. We talked about one of the greatest wrestlers never won a national title. Now, my opinion, this is the greatest wrestler to never win a national title in recent years. Obviously, I'll take Adam Coon over Thomas Gilman. I don't. Obviously, it's going to come to it, right?
Adam Coon never won one.
No, he lost to Nick Wasdowski and he lost to Kyle Snyder, both by a single point. That being said, who are the two guys in the heavyweight weight class that are going to make the most impact after college? Gable Steveson and Colton Schultz.
Yeah.
They're just two in different styles, right? Which one is obviously going to have more success in folk style? Gable Steveson.
Yeah.
And that just goes without being said, but who would win if you throw them in a Greco match? Colton Schultz. And it's just not going to be close. He probably gets pinned. You know, Colton Schultz is a Greco prodigy, and he's been raised that way. And after he comes out of college, Reza Kalp is probably going to get older and older. If Colton Schultz makes his team,
I still cannot believe, I remember, that video that, you reposted or whatever of, Colton Schultz, fourth state finals. What enters your mind? You're wrestling this dude who is known for his Greco, who's got, Greco world medals, and you're like, yeah, I'll get an over-under with him.
See, I don't want to say this because it seems like more of an asshole take. It's Colorado, right? The kid didn't look like a state final caliber kid in any competitive weight class, for that to be honest. That doesn't take anything away from Colton Schultz. Colton Schultz is one of the best in the country, and that's not going to change no matter who he's wrestling. But you also did saw Schultz was a little bit more merciful on the throw.
Yeah.
He just kind of threw in half and pinned him.
Yeah.
And again, you know how good of a hand fighter Gable Steveson is? Colton Schultz is probably just as good. And that's it's obviously because of Greco, you're gonna be able to have better hand fights. And that's why Adam Coon was able to shut down Kyle Snyder so well.
Yeah.
People saying that, Coon would never beat Snyder. Look at their senior year. Coon was it's not like the match was always close, right? It's not like it was never close and Snyder was moving the gap. Coon was closing the gap, if anything. Coon used to get handled. Yeah, he has beaten him.
Yeah.
Their senior year, Coon won 3-2 at Ann Arbor in Michigan. Yeah. Big Ten, Snyder pulls it out in the fourth overtime with a controversial out of bounds takedown. And the national finals was decided on a bad shot by Adam Coon. That's all it was. And you look at Coon's sophomore year, I think it was. He made the national finals. Lost to Nick Wasdowski 7-6.
Right.
He's one of the guys, if you have to consider bad draws, that's a bad draw, right? And that's why I give him the edge over Thomas Go for that sole fact. Gilman, he get pinned by Moisey that one year? Next year, he lose to Corey Clapp.
Yeah.
Lose to Nico Megaluz in the finals. And the next year, he choked to Darian Cruz. It's not like Gilman was so outmatched that he couldn't win it. Coon kept those two matches a lot closer than they should have been. And he almost won them. Those are arguably two of the greatest college heavyweights ever.
Yeah.
You obviously don't know where a guy like Stephen Neal falls because, again, those guys will never wrestle each other. Where do you put prime Tony Nelson in that? Because, again, Tony Nelson versus Nick Wasdowski was a 4-2 match on that day. You can't say it could not go any different way. If they were to wrestle they wrestled 10 times on that day, it might be split 5-5. Same thing with Wiz and Snyder. It couldn't be 5-5, You could say Gable Steveson beats Anthony Cassar 8 out of 10 times. But those 2 out of 10 fell in his favor. That's all it really is there. I don't think anybody is really going to have a debate that Adam Coon is not the better wrestler to win a national title than Mike Mcmullen. Even though Mcmullen has more accolades, Coon did beat him head-to-head.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I'll give him over. And they wrestled in sort of the same time frame, That's kind of the main thing.
Yeah.
Third on this list, two-time national champ, Tony Nelson. Started the revolutionization of the heavyweights,
Yeah.
People really look at Kyle Snyder because they're like that. he kind of brought into heavyweights, taking shots, taking all this, finishing shots, and hitting your knee on shots. His final with Zach Ray in 2012, I think it was decided off a low single by Zach Ray. I think Tony Nelson went rubber knee on him and took him down. And want to win 3-1. And, if there's one thing Tony Nelson is known for, it's his top ride. It's better than anybody else on this list. And it's really not close because of how massive of a man it was. Something I also want to bring up. Number 10. Or if we put number 11 on this, do you guys think Alan Jelagayev should be on this list? If you're watching, comment that down below. But Tony Nelson, man, that's just a beast of a man, Minnesota's heavyweight university. Who came through there? Brock Lesnar, Cole Conrad, Tony Nelson, and now Gable Steveson. Yeah. Every heavyweight prodigy, if they go to that school, they could literally. Would Gable have been the same that he is now if he didn't go to Minnesota? These are big what ifs, but could he have been a bust? Everything seemed to be going against him his first couple years. That's kind of the interesting part.
Yes.
Again, these are all what ifs of what he could have, what he could. Fact remains, he's the second best heavyweight in the U.S. right now, according to rankings. Gwiz remains number 1 until the trials. We'll find out soon enough, right?
Right.
Tony Nelson beat Zach Ray. Think about great. This is another thing I really want to talk about. I don't think we talked about this in the podcast yet, but freshman heavyweights. Zach Ray did not place, I don't think, as a freshman, right?
Yeah,
or he placed 7th or 8th. That would have been 29. 2029, what the fuck? 2009, my bad.
Yeah.
Tony Nelson placed 7th in the country. And mainly that due to the fact that he was so physically developed. Go watch his match against Zach Ray. You will not believe that man is a sophomore. That looks like a grown-ass 30-year-old man.
Right.
Nick Wasdowski placed 8th in the country as a freshman for Binghamton. 2-time national champ right there. The greatest record-wise collegiate heavyweight ever. 88 win streak. Obviously, he's going to be – it just sucks, but he's more known for his one loss than that. Then Kyle Snyder. Where was Kyle Snyder as a freshman? Getting pinned in the national final. He got pinned in the national finals. Maybe he was the favorite to win that. Maybe he wasn't. And Gadsden just looked like it was his day. That's really it. And he also, as we said, where was Gable Steveson in 2019? Placed 3rd. And that's higher than we've really seen. Obviously Gable was consensus number 2. I don't think anybody argues that after his win over Derek White. The draws just didn't fall in his way. That's really all that is. But Tony Nelson, again, one of Gable's practice partners and one of the key people into developing Gable into what he is right now as on the college level. Gable obviously looks up to Brock Lesnar a lot just because all these Minnesota greats. Cole Conrad is the one who's mainly forgotten about. The dude dogged Steve Mako in the national finals. And he's one of the main forgotten national champs.
Yeah.
But again, Nick Wasdowski really didn't present anything crazy. He was just a tough hand fighter, took his shots, and a strong fucking dude. That's what he was. But number 2, it's who you think it is. Number 1 in the country right now, Nick Wasdowski. 2-time national champ, 3-time national finalist, 4-time All-American. Started his career off
There's no arguing that.
Hmm?
There's no arguing that's the number 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could say he was a better collegiate heavyweight than Snyder, but Snyder won more titles. And Snyder did beat him. But record-wise, dominance-wise before that, you may just have to give that to Wasdowski. But that's, again, an argument that just gets completely negated by the fact that Snyder beat him that one day.
Yeah.
Again, you can say that 9 out of 10 times the match might go to Wasdowski. Snyder was having a hell of a day that time too.
Yeah.
And Wasdowski started his career for Binghamton. Played state as a freshman. Nothing crazy. Then he transfers to NC State, red shirts. Comes back as a sophomore against the defending national champion. You know, Conda just looked to be too fast for Nelson. He finishes attacks, and what Gwiazdowski is known for is just diving at legs, kind of, but not in like a bad way.
Yeah.
He's known to being able to finish out of extended positions. Is the best way to put it, and that's exactly what he gets. Because he, unlike most people, he keeps moving his knees. Like even with Gable gets the angle so quick that he's never forced to do this. And when he is, it's not really the easiest thing for him to do because he can't get off his knees that quickly once you stuff a shot. Gwiazdowski's guys just gonna keep moving underneath you, and he's gonna work for that head wheel. And he's gonna take you down. That's exactly what he did to Nelson twice. He gave up almost 2 minutes of riding time because again, Nelson knew what he had to do, and that's kind of what he looked to plan to do in that match was get an escape, ride him, and just win the match 2-0.
Yeah.
Probably not the worst strategy, but also not the best. Once he got taken down, you could see it was like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
Then the next year, 2015, I think it is.
Yep.
The bigger story of this tournament was obviously the tournament. The tournament's always going to be known for that semifinal between Adamkin and Mike Mcmullen, and that's just what that is, right? Awesome scramble, best scramble at heavyweight. I wish you could call what Gable did to Paris scramble in that one thing, but he just had the man in the fucking blender, and it was hilarious. But yeah. That being said, more competitive match than it should have been.
Yes.
I think it was 7-6. Squiz won that year. People were talking about a major. Just let that sink in. Obviously that's probably gonna be. It was different in folk style when Kuhn made Divide and Lex and just got teched twice, but that match was a lot closer than it should have been. And that's not anything against Wasdowski. Wasdowski didn't wrestle bad. Kuhn just wrestled very good.
Yeah.
And Wasdowski was on the tear that year. That was crazy. This is when I think the 88 match win streak was started. This was an undefeated season. It started obviously the season before that, but this was an undefeated season. Going into his senior season, this is, it's obviously going to be known for that one match. But going up until that, dominated pretty much everybody. Dominated his way through the ACC. Yes, national tournament. He was the 1 seed. Snyder's the 2 seed. At this point, is Snyder Olympic champion? I think he is.
Yes.
Snyder is an Olympic champ, And this is where people start betting on upsets. Like, does 97 correlate to heavyweight? That was really the question, The most dominant college heavyweight pretty much of all time in that match, Nick Wasdowski. And then you have the guy who won the Olympic title. But he won it at 97. And that's the main thing that goes to disprove the whole Gable versus Snyder thing.
I mean, 97 kilos, 213 pounds, which in college would put you at heavyweight.
Yeah, but again, that's not generally how most guys weigh. That's the problem there.
That's fair.
No, it's not anything bad. Like, he did what he had to do to win the Olympic title, and that's not taken away from that. But that's more invalid in the argument.
Yeah.
I would go as far as to say that any medal at 125 is more than the gold that's 97.
Yeah.
And that would go for any weight class. Non-Olympic weight classes are weird, but we're just going by Olympic ones, right? If Gable were to win a bronze at the Olympic this year, I would put him again. I would put him over Snyder.
Right.
Obviously, if Snyder wins gold, that just becomes a valid debate for the sole fact that, you have one of the soon-to-be greatest of all times at 97, Usad July, right there.
Yes.
And that just goes to that. But talking enough about that, number 1, you already know who this is. Spencer Lee. All right. No, that was a shitty fucking joke. But all right. I was trying to think of something to say on the spot, but you already know. 3-time national champion of Ohio State University, 4-time national finalist, 4-time All-American, Olympic champion, 2-time world champion, I think it is.
Yep.
Now with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, we'll be fighting for his second Olympic berth, Olympic spot, whatever you want to call it, in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Kyle Snyder. What can you say? He's like, a lot of people was like, obviously he's done this, he's done that. He's dropped matches, didn't have this crazy win streak or everything, but he won when it mattered. He won a national title in 2017 over Conor Medbury with broken ribs. Pulled one of the biggest heavyweight upset out there, and he knocked off Nick Wasdowski. He won an Olympic title, he won a world title. He's one of the few people that can say he beat Abdul Rashid Sajalive when all was said and done.
Yeah. And though we dropped that second match, which I can't believe I'm seeing people say that Kyle Snyder is falling off. But I
was saying that too, but then you realize how dominant Muhammadian actually is. Because that's not a game. That's not a name most people in the U.S. even know. You lose to Sajalive, that's like, oh wait, who gives a shit? Cox is probably going to, Snyder's probably going to, whoever makes that team. But you get pinned by Muhammadian. That's like, and then you go watch some of that dude's highlights. After I watched that, I was like, oh, maybe I was a little bit wrong about this. And that's all that really is, right?
Yeah.
In his college career, he was known for that. What's it? The righty high cross. That was his go-to. And he would either run the pipe or he would straight up just lift you.
Yeah, he was like picking up 250, 260 pound dudes.
Again, match with Nick Neville. That's my favorite one. It's gonna go not because I think obviously I'm a Penn State fan. It was the dude was scrapping with Kyle Snyder.
Yeah,
and it was like he took him down, not off a pure coincidence. He got the leg. Snyder fought it off. He swept it and took him down. How many guys have actually done that to Kyle Snyder in college? One other one I can think of, and that's Nick Wasdowski.
Yeah.
Now, that also goes to say, Nick Gwiz versus Gable in a folk style match probably goes in favor of Gwiz for that sole reason. People forget how good of a scrambler that Gwiz actually is.
Yeah.
He was finessing Kyle Snyder until he started to get stuff. That's all that really was. No, Snyder freshman year follows to Kyvan Gadsden. That is what it is. He beat Jaden Cox though. That was probably the best win you could have had, except for winning the title. Did that. Cox came back to place third. Next year beats Nick Wasdowski. The year after that beats Conor Medbury. And the year after that, one of the biggest heavyweight rivalry that's existed. Kyle Snyder beat Adam Kuhn. Under 30 seconds left. Kuhn takes a shot. Snyder throws it by and takes him down. Probably one of the least eventful matches in their rivalry, but that's how it ended. And Snyder, the first heavyweight in a while to stay on top his entire career.
Yeah.
Is there anything much else we can say?
No,
I think
really.
a good new series we can start is spotlights of wrestlers, just underappreciated, best to never win. We can do more top 10 lists like this. If you guys disagree with anything in my top 10, obviously 6 through 10, Zach Ray, Dom Bradley, Conor Medbury, Anthony Starr, and Gerard Trice can all be flipped. I've said Gable Steveson probably can't be on this list because his career just isn't over yet.
Yeah.
Guys who graduated before 2019. Would Derek White be on this list? Possibly. Would Amar Desi be on this list? Possibly. And that just goes to say, you don't know, because there's so many guys who maybe placed lower than they should have just because they didn't have the best draw or they didn't perform the best on that night. But that being said, any final words?
No, nothing in particular. If you guys have topics, it's going to be kind of a slow news week leading up to NCAAs. So if you guys have any particular content that you want to see, then let us know.
Yep. So that being said, thank you guys for listening or watching, whatever platform you're on. This has been episode 61 of Late Night Shots, and we will see you guys again next time.
All right, peace.